Hello, and welcome to Greedy People, a 4-part limited series where we talk about 2 scams that share something in common. I am Nicholas Givens, and this episode we will talk about 2 distinct types of alternative medicine that have been exposed as scams designed to prey on desperate people according to various federal agencies, Jilly Juice and Miracle Mineral Solution, and how not only are they misleading people, in my opinion, but they are also, in my opinion, potentially dangerous. First, we are going to start with the story of Jilly Juice entitled Sodium and the Poop. The internet already knows a lot about so-called healer Jillian Mythe Epperly. Epperly claims that her so-called juice, which she started promoting in 2016, can cure everything, from the deadliest forms of cancer to, and I am not shitting you, autism spectrum disorder. That's right, she thinks her so-called panacea can cure autism, and that is not just the beginning. She also claims that her beverage can regrow limbs and cure same-gender attraction. The latter claim is very offensive to the gay and lesbian community. She also thinks that every illness is caused by a yeast called Candida, as well as ambiguous parasites. None of what she says, in my opinion, is true, and nor does it have any scientific evidence to back it up. Her concoction consists of 2 cups of water, 1 tablespoon of white salt, which she changed from Himalayan pink salt around 2020, and 2 cups of cabbage or kale, which is fermented at room temperature. Side note, do not try making this at home. It will taste like shit and you could get sodium poisoning. But more on that later. She recommends that one should drink up a gallon of this per day. This is not safe, in my opinion. This can cause explosive diarrhea that can potentially tear out your stomach lining. And like I said earlier, it could cause a fatal overdose on sodium. The fact that she has no medical or scientific background contributes to the fact that, in my opinion, she is nothing more than a con artist and a quack. Her followers have been described in the media as a poop cult. The reason behind that label is because her juice, like I said earlier, is known to cause people to have copious amounts of diarrhea. Epperly has written 3 books as of 2022. They are all self-published by 2 different self-publishing companies because no traditional publisher wants to give her a platform to spread what is, in my opinion, nothing more than a bunch of dangerous lies. They are all, in my opinion, poorly researched, and the so-called information in the books are used completely not only out of context from their sources, but also formatted as if there are a bunch of hyperlinks to click on, which in a physical book you simply cannot do. I use the word information very loosely when talking about her books because it is so full of the same, in my opinion, dangerous lies. That's right. Dangerous lies. A while back, Jillian Epperly had the courage to appear on Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil interrogated her, stating why he thinks what she is saying is dangerous. He also brought on Jeff Holiday, who has said the exact same things on YouTube. I will link some of those videos in the description for this episode. He destroyed her with science, and an audience member rushed to the stage to either try the Jilly Juice or to flat out attack her. He was kicked out of Dr. Phil's studio and escorted out of the building by security. A woman who appeared on the Dr. Phil show stated that she suffered a stroke in addition to the diarrhea from the salty cabbage water. I don't know what led her to trying the Jilly Juice, but she was desperate for a solution nonetheless. She had to go to the ER because of that stroke. This is an example of how, in my opinion, Jillian Epperly preyed on desperate people, and how harmful her protocol has the potential to be. And it is not just adults that use this stuff. In some cases, their parents have made their kids drink this stuff instead of scientifically backed pharmaceutical medicine. These adults are usually desperate when it comes to finding something to treat their child's ailments. In some of these cases, Their child's ailments simply has no scientifically proven cure, so they turn to the juice. It's just sad that these parents are doing this to their children, but it sickens me that some of those kids that are getting it shoved down their throats have autism spectrum disorder. What these parents should understand is that autism isn't something that needs to be cured. It's just part of who their child is. But there are some aspects of it, though, that could use some psychotherapy, which is scientifically proven to treat some of those aspects of autism. In 2018, the Federal Trade Commission warned Epperly that advertising her health products, what these parents should really understand is that autism is just how someone thinks. It's part of who that someone is. And it is not something that needs to be cured. If anything, therapy will do in terms of treatment. But at the end of the day, you can't cure autism. And that is actually for the best. 2 years after Jilly and Epperly invented Jilly Juice, the Federal Trade Commission warned her that advertising products that do not have scientific evidence to back up their claims, in this case, this is a health product she was advertising, is illegal, meaning she can no longer advertise Jilly Juice as a cure-all. To put it bluntly and all those other words, Jillian Epperly is, in my opinion, a crazy woman who needs professional help herself. She claims that her so-called protocol can cure everything under the sun, which, as we all know, there's no scientific evidence to back it up. She believes in her own story, and her book is a train wreck. She views the symptoms that result from her juice as healing symptoms, when, in my opinion, it is not healing. It is just a series of painful symptoms that could lead to visits to the ER or even death, because those symptoms are both dehydration and sodium poisoning. If I were you, I would stay the hell away from this so-called protocol. It's dangerous, it could kill people, and as a matter of fact, I'm not surprised if this has actually killed someone. I mean, Myles Power tested it, so you don't have to. And his video will be linked in the description. We are going to move on now to what is arguably the most infamous of the two, and Myles Power also talked about this in one of his videos. The video for this alternative treatment will also be in the description for this episode. The treatment I'm talking about is called Miracle Mineral Solution. So let's get into that. Miracle Mineral Solution, a sodium chloride-based so-called cure infamous for the fact that it was imported into Cameroon and Uganda by a pastor named Robert Baldwin with financial backing from a British so-called clairvoyant named Sam Little, is so unsafe, in my opinion, it is not funny. I will note that Miracle Mineral Solution is not to be confused with Peter Popoff's infamous Miracle Spring Water, which is actually just bottled water that his daughter allegedly bought from Costco. MMS practitioners claim it can cure everything by destroying bacteria and viruses. There are some people that turn to this to cure their child's autism. I will say this once again, autism is not something that needs a cure. It's just how that particular child thinks, and there are aspects of it that are clinically proven to be treatable with therapy. There is no cure for it, and that is probably a good thing in my opinion. According to the FDA and various other sources, Miracle Mineral Solution is extraordinarily dangerous. The people who peddle this bullshit, quote-unquote, recommend that you mix this stuff with citric acid. However, according to Myles Power, when you mix this with an acidic substance, sodium chloride becomes chlorine dioxide. Chlorine dioxide is, you guessed it, an industrial bleach, and also acts as a disinfectant. Because Miracle Mineral Solution turns into bleach when you add acidic substances, the Food and Drug Administration has warned against using it 2 times, once in 2010 and then again in 2019. It is well known for causing the body to expel mucus threads, which, according to Miracle Mineral Solution practitioners, are ropeworms, but we'll talk about what MMS does to cause this expulsion in just a minute. It is illegal to promote MMS because there is no scientific proof behind it, so I don't understand why the people who promoted it got away with it. And I will note the original name for this was Miracle Mineral Supplement. They changed the name of it to avoid legal trouble. The guy who invented this, Jim Humble, a known cytologist, coined the term in his book, The Miracle Mineral Solution for the 21st Century, which he self-published in 2006 because no traditional publisher wants to give Miracle Mineral Solution practitioners a platform to spew their, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the FDA as well, dangerous bullshit. In 2016, however, Humble wound up admitting that Miracle Mineral Solution doesn't actually cure anything and that he was in fact lying about it the whole time. That admission came 6 years after the FDA initially recommended people to not use it whatsoever. Chlorine dioxide, the chemical that Miracle Mineral Solution turns into after you add an acidic substance to it, whether it be lemon juice, vinegar, etc., is toxic if you ingest this stuff. Chlorine dioxide can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and dangerous hypotension, which is the medical term for low blood pressure because of dehydration. Sodium chloride, on the other hand, can cause acute kidney failure in high doses, and lower doses of that substance can cause nausea, vomiting, and enteritis, which is the medical term for inflammation of the intestines. This inflammation is responsible for the so-called ropeworms to begin with. Sodium chloride, if you lack certain enzymes, can cause a life-threatening reaction. In 2009, a Canadian man was sent to the hospital after he used this product, which is further proof of why it is dangerous, in my opinion, and the FDA. Also, according to the FDA, some Miracle Mineral Solution labels claim that the vomiting and diarrhea are signs that the product is treating the illness, when in reality it is just giving them bleach poisoning. Miracle Mineral Solution, like I said at the top of the segment, was imported into Cameroon and Uganda. One of the practitioners who used it in Cameroon, his name was Dr. Enno Fry, lost his job as an appellate professor at a university in Dusseldorf, Germany, after he authored a study that repeated the same claims Humble made in his 2006 book. I will note that in 2020, some people on the internet were promoting Miracle Mineral Solution as a way to treat and cure coronavirus. Not helping was the fact that the former US President Donald Trump had suggested using disinfectant on COVID patients the same year, while he was in office. To put it shortly, Miracle Mineral Solution is an industrial bleach, and a very powerful bleach and disinfectant at that. If you ingest this stuff, it can cause some serious health consequences, which I described earlier. I am glad that the guy who originally peddled this fucking bullshit came out and said that he didn't have any evidence to back up his claims, even though that does not erase the fact that he had made those claims in 2006. What do all of these methods of alternative medicine have in common? The proponents claim they are panaceas, of which there is no scientific evidence to back those claims up. Federal agencies, the Federal Trade Commission in Epperly's case, the Food and Drug Administration in the case of Miracle Mineral Solution, have told people that the product's claims are false. In my opinion, the products target people who are desperate for solutions to their various ailments, whatever that may be. One of the differences between the two is that one contains ingredients that are actually meant to be ingested, albeit too much of sodium in the former case, while the other, you just should not ingest that, period, because it is bleach. And bleach, as we talked about, can cause various health consequences, some of which are deadly. And I would like to make a quick correction for something I said during the first segment of this episode. I said that Jillian Epperly claims that ailments are caused by candida and various parasites. That was a misinterpretation of the article that I read. What it actually said was that Epperly claims that all illnesses are caused by candida, which in turn attracts the parasites. So I apologize for that error, and I hope I will not make that mistake again. I'm Nicholas Givens, and next week we'll be looking into the world of multi-level marketing and how they prey on desperate people, albeit for different reasons. And I will note that Epperly's claims about candida attracting parasites in the human body has no scientific evidence of it, in my opinion, and as well as the opinion of the Federal Trade Commission. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.